All right, so with all of the stuff going on in the 2K community over the past few days, there's been a bunch of different things going on, from Stacks Montana getting fired to Ronnie2K openly admitting that 2K25 is designed for casuals. I wanted to take a little bit of a break today and give you boys another episode of Storytime, and I got a good one today, okay? And what I want to get into is the time I knocked a kid out in class, okay? Now, most of you watching this video do not know me in real life. It's actually going to surprise some of you. But I am not a violent person whatsoever. I never get into fights. I've said this multiple times on the channel. I am a 6'1", scrawny-ass white dude. I do not go around putting my fucking fists up ready to knock somebody out. Like, I'm not mini Mike Tyson out here. So I'm never going around looking for a fight. I never get into fights. I'm very loud on YouTube, and I'm just a very loud vocal person in general. But I never get into fights with people. But this is one of the few times in my life I actually have. So this story actually takes place during my sophomore year of high school. I think I was around like 15 or 16 years old at the time. And I remember the whole day very vividly because, again, I don't get violent with people. So something like this is going to stick out in my memory like a fucking sore thumb. So I remember the day vividly, okay? The whole day was normal up until my last two classes of the day. And my last two classes were geometry and global history, okay? And I remember this day very specifically. Before I pulled up to geometry class, at the time, I had gotten in an argument with my girlfriend, okay? And if you're a man, you understand how much that shit will piss you off when women start losing their mind and getting stupid over something or getting angry, whatever. You understand how annoying that shit is. So that was strike one. I'm going to tell you all what the 3 strikes were, and I'm going to fucking strike out at the goddamn mat, okay? So that was strike one. Strike two was in this geometry class, I needed to come in here and I had a test that day, okay? And if I didn't pass this test, I was going to fail geometry for the quarter, and that was really going to piss me off. And more importantly, that was going to piss my parents off. And that's how I go home and get my ass beat, okay? That was strike two. Well, to be more accurate, that wasn't strike two yet, but what gets me to strike two is when I went into that geometry class, I went in there and I took that test, and from the moment I finished it, I knew I bombed the living shit out of that test, and I just knew I was fucked. Okay, and the teacher graded it right in front of me before I left the class that day. And I remember I got like a 40 or a 30 on that test. I bombed the living shit out of it, bro. So by the time I got to my last period class of the day and I went to global history, I went into this class and I was on fucking demon timing, okay? From a scale of 1 to 10, how angry I was probably cooling at like a 6 or a 7, maybe even a high 7, like a 7.5, okay? It's probably where I peaked at this point. So I went in this class, I'm expecting to go in here, just get the day over with, go home, okay? I already know when I get home, I'm gonna have to argue with my girl. My fucking parents are gonna beat my ass. Like, it's about to be a long ass night. And anyone who has been 16 before remembers a night like that, where nothing is going your way. You go home from school, you get your ass beat, shit like that. They're never good, okay? And the majority of this class was pretty normal. I remember the teacher was talking to me more often for some reason. Let me just go on a side tangent, okay? I hate teachers like this. The teachers who see that a kid like looks more depressed or more tired or more angry than usual, and they make an effort to single them out the entire class and troll them and ask them questions. Teachers like that, I legitimately, I want to beat the shit out of them, bro. Like, why do you do that? You clearly see that I'm pissed off and I'm annoyed. Like, why do you keep asking me questions about the fucking Revolutionary War? I don't need to know about this, okay? I'm not trying to learn about World War I at fucking 3 p.m. on a Tuesday when I'm about to go home and get my ass beat. I'm not interested, so stop asking me random questions and calling on me randomly, but that's just a side tangent. Let me keep going. Now, where shit really starts to heat up is I had an op in this class, okay? And it's not a real op. I'm like a suburban white dude talking about ops, just to clarify that, okay? But I'm going to call this kid an op because this kid was such a bitch. He always had problems with everyone in my school. Now, I never had a problem with this kid personally. I just knew that he was a bitch and none of my friends really liked him. I never once had a conversation with him myself, but I had a good inkling that this kid was a bitch, okay? And to give you all an idea of this kid's build, he was one of those very generic, spoiled rich kids. He was, no exaggeration, we were 16 years old. The guy was maybe 5'2", 5'3". It was literally a joke around my school that this guy was built like a fucking meatball because he was completely round. The guy was short as shit and he was fat. And he was one of these really spoiled little rich kids who was just an asshole to everyone. I can't name a single person who I ever knew at my school who liked this fucking kid, okay? And he was in this class. So hopefully that gives you an idea of this kid's build. There's your introduction to another character in this fucking anime, okay? So I'm getting right up to the end of this global history class. And I'm like, dude, it's finally time to go home. Get me out of this school so I can get home and get my ass beating out of the way. Let me argue with my fucking girl and we can move on with this night and get this day over with. So the bell finally rings. This class is over, okay? And I'm about to, I got my AirPods in, okay? So I'm about to take my AirPods out, put them in my AirPod case, and I'm about to walk out of this classroom, right? And I'm about to be out of this school and the day is gonna end. But I guess God had other plans on this stupid ass day. I just needed to be pissed off more, apparently. So as I'm taking my left AirPod out of my ear, I remember this shit so vividly like it just happened. I take out my left AirPod, and as I'm going to reach for the case in my pocket to put it in the case, the fucking 5'2" fat kid walks by me and very intentionally takes his backpack and swings it around very widely so it hits me directly in my face, and then puts on his backpack and tries to walk away. Like, it was not accidental. The kid even shot me a little look to be like, yeah, I just did that, bitch. And I'm sitting here, he just knocked my AirPod out of my ear, and I'm already at like a 7.5 in terms of the anger scale. This dude trying me and hitting me in the face, I'm not gonna lie, that shit sent me from a 7.5 straight to a 10. That shit was 0 to 100. Shout out fucking Drake for the lyrics, okay? That shit was 0 to 100 immediately. I was just enraged, brother. And this kid didn't realize that he just gave me the perfect vessel to take my anger out. So what I did with literally zero hesitation is I put both of my AirPods back in my case and I jumped out of my chair like I was Usain Bolt, and I chased this kid down like I had Hall of Fame chase down artist in fucking 2K. I ran up right behind him. I grabbed his shoulder, and the kid was short. He was fat, but he was short. But I was strong enough to fully swing this kid all the way around. So I grabbed him by his shoulder and forcibly made him do a 180. And I took my right fist. I winded that shit all the way up, like as far back as I could. It was literally like some Why I Oughta shit out of Looney Tunes, but like way faster. And I just decked this kid in the fucking head, literally as hard as I could. I was like on some LeBron shit in 2016. I saw Andre Iguodala hit it for the rim. I said, hell no. But instead of going for the ball, I went for this kid's fucking face, okay? And I knew I hit this kid way too hard when he immediately just flopped on the ground like a dead fish. Like if we were playing Fortnite, bro, this kid just got fucking 200 pumped. He has no meds. He is cooked. He's in the storm. He just got downed. Oh my God, I still see it in my head. He literally just face planted on the floor. He fell down like he just got 200 pumped in Fortnite. I cannot even recreate the way that this motherfucker fell, but he was completely unconscious and he face planted onto the floor. And that's when I knew I hit this kid way too fucking hard. Now, after he went down, I didn't know I did this, but a few of my friends who were in the class told me. I literally just stood over this kid and I was breathing heavy as fuck. I was like, and I was just mad as fuck. And I didn't even realize I did this. And then a few seconds went by and I looked around and everyone in this classroom, including the teacher, is just staring at me with the same bewildered ass blank expression with their fucking jaw open, not even knowing what to do. Because the kid is literally unconscious on the floor. Like he's just a dead fish and everyone's looking at me like I'm about to do something crazy. Like now at this point, my anger has gone down enough to realize what the fuck I just did. And I start looking around, not really knowing what to do. So I kind of just stand there and look at the whole class and they kind of all look at me. They're kind of shifting between me and the guy like half dead on the floor, not really sure which one to look at. But eventually they choose me, okay? Now, after a few more very awkward seconds of this, the teacher kind of comes over and pulls me to the side and starts asking me like, what was going on? Why did you do it? And as I begin to explain to him what happened and, why I just knocked this kid unconscious on the floor, all I hear behind me, like it's out of a fucking movie, is, oh, no, what happened, bro? And then I turn around and I see him, the kid I knocked out, like start grabbing onto a desk to try to get up. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like I'm cooked. Because I see his face, okay? Now the kid he was darker skinned. I don't know exactly what race or nationality he was, but he was darker skinned. So he wouldn't turn like red on the face where I punched him like a white person would. But dude, his whole face where I hit him was just purple as fuck. And I was like, dude, I just knew I was cooked at this point, but I actually wasn't, which is the craziest part. So this kid is so much of a pussy little bitch. He gets up and he says to the teacher, without hesitating, he's like, oh, no, dude. Like, we were just playing around. Like, it's all good. Like, we didn't even really mean it. And he's like, are you sure? And the kid really says to him with a straight face, he was like, yeah, we were playing around, bro. And he looks at me dead in the face, and I am hitting him with like the most angry eyes I possibly can to try to scare him more. And he just looks at me and goes, okay, yeah, dude, like, let's just shake on it. We're good, right? And the teacher looks at me, you know, seeing if I'm going to shake this dude's hand back. And I shake that little pussy's hand. That kid got knocked on his ass, looked me in the face and shook my hand when he could have snitched on me right there. But he decided to be even more of a bitch and just take that shit. He didn't even fight back. He just took his L, bro. And the teacher, seriously, after seeing us just shake hands after I just beat the shit out of a kid and knocked him unconscious, is just like, oh yeah, you guys are good then. Have a good day. And I see the kid just walk out of the room completely bitched. And I'm standing there trying to process this. I look at the teacher who's like shuffling through papers on his desk. He couldn't give less of a fuck. He already sat back down. He doesn't care. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to stay around to get punished or have any repercussions for this. I'm also fucking leaving. So I walked out the door and waited a few minutes, got on my bus, and I left. Now, in case you're all wondering what should have happened, regardless of what the kid said, I definitely should have gotten written up for that. I definitely should have gotten ISS, which if you're not from the New York or United States, wherever, I don't know if that's an international term, but ISS is basically, if you do something crazy in school, you get like a suspension in school or out of school, whatever. I definitely should have gotten suspended for that at the very least, if not expelled. Honestly, that's worthy of expelling me. But the teacher and the kid got bitched, okay? The kid didn't give a fuck. He didn't even care about doing anything. But the teacher, regardless of what the kid said, should have written me up or given me suspension, something like that, okay? I should have gotten banished to the fucking shadow realm for that. But nobody gave a shit. So I was like, okay, I guess nobody gives a shit then. And I left. Now, I went home that day on that bus, honestly, in one of the best moods I have ever fucking been in. And that lasted about a cool 20, 30 minutes until I got home. Then my parents saw the results of that geometry test and that happiness faded really quickly. And then I got into another argument with my girlfriend at the time. So, you know, the happiness faded quickly, but it peaked up pretty high after I knocked that kid out. I'm not going to lie. And the aftermath of this, as I said, everyone in my school hated this fucking kid. So I had like the most insane fucking aura for like 2 weeks after I went to school because no one wanted to get expelled for knocking this kid out, but everyone wanted to fucking do it. So word started getting around that I beat the well, I didn't really beat the shit out of him, but I knocked him out, okay? So the word starts getting around the school that I knocked this kid out, and random people are coming up to me and just tapping me on the shoulder, coming up to me being like, yo, you knocked that kid out, right? And I'm not going to say his name. Let's call him Eugene, okay? That's been like the designated weirdo name in these story times, okay? They come up to me and they're like, yo, you beat the shit out of that Eugene kid? You knocked his ass out? And I'm like, yeah, I knocked that kid out. And people will come up to me, they'll start dapping me up. People I've never even met. Like, we're united through struggle, okay? We're united through hatred out here of this kid. So they would come up to me, dap me up, be like, oh, good shit, knocking that kid out. Like, I didn't want to get suspended. That went on for a couple of weeks. And the day after when I went back, okay, I'm walking through the hallways. I'm just waiting to see this kid at some point throughout the day. And eventually I'm walking through the hallways and I see him, okay? He has the biggest black eye I have ever seen in his life, okay? Because I punched him right near where his eye socket is, like right on the bone around that area is where I knocked that motherfucker out, like right on his temples kind of area, okay? Bro, there was the biggest bruise I have ever seen, and he had a filthy ass black eye for literally like 2 or 3 weeks after that. And every time I saw that kid, I remembered, yeah, I did knock his ass out. And after this, if you're wondering, this kid never said a fucking word to me, and he never caused another problem at this fucking school. He never had another issue with anyone else. This is why I'm a big fan of bullying, just as a little tangent. Bullying works. Knocking somebody out when they need to be knocked out works, okay? This is why I bully people on the internet. This is why I'm such an asshole. Because it works when people really need it, bro. The kid never created any other problems. Every time I went into this class, the kid sat as far away from me as possible after this. He never said shit to me again. And I never said shit to him either. But just to be clear, I'm pretty sure I said this in the intro as well. I'm not telling this story to try and sound cool or be like, oh, look at me, fucking big techs beating the shit out of kids. I've been very open about the fact that in confrontational situations where people are about to fight in real life, I'm a pussy. Like, I'm not gonna, unless my like actual safety is at risk and I feel like I'm gonna be like actually knocked out or like hurt, I'm never gonna fight someone. I will always back down from a fight. I will openly admit I'm a scrawny ass white kid. I'm a bitch. But in this situation, I've really felt the need to knock this kid out. So I'm not trying to sound cool or tough because I'm neither of those things. I'm just being honest about what happened here. But anyway, we're almost 16 minutes into this video. I don't want to yap on any further. That's the story of the time I knocked a kid out in class. Like I said, I never get violent with people, so this was a pretty fucking crazy point in my life, okay? But anyway, there's the story, people. So thank you all for watching to the end. If you guys are enjoying these story time videos as much as I am making them, definitely let me know in the comments. I always love making these every once in a while. But hey, until my next one, people, let me know what's up. Also, let me give a shout out to my members. I almost forgot to do this. Here are my members on the screen. I love you boys. Thank you for becoming a member. It's literally $1 a month. You get no benefits, but I like money. So you're giving money to me, and I like money. So you might as well give me money. It's $1. If enough of you give me $1, I can buy like a McChicken or some shit. So I don't know. Consider becoming a member, but I'm done rambling. I'm out of here, people. Thank you for watching to the end. I love you boys. Peace.